None of the people who suck up to Trump have even an ounce of his charisma. I'm not concerned about another candidate taking over like Trump's place in the Republican Party. That's like the closest to having charisma any of them have is like Vivek Ramaswamy.
I just typed to Bradley. Speaking of that, we got to get to this next clip, but keep going. Speaking of,
but he literally talks like a used car salesman. Like he talks like he's trying to sell you a monorail. Like it's so like it just comes across like obviously disingenuous. None of them have like what Trump has managed to capture in the minds of the people who like him, which is just like a clear, decisive tone of indifference towards the haters. Like
right.
But yeah.
Yeah, Vivek is like Republican Mayor Pete. Like he's just like every establishment or even like more tenured presidential candidate desperately wants him to shut the hell up, and he just keeps like smiling and just saying like his like prepped talking points. He's just
he's also bad at it. Like he's a bad liar. Like he comes up with like a lot of really bad excuses and really bad pivots for like being confronted that I think even like a Andrew Yang or like a Pete Buttigieg were able to just be a little bit more, subtle about it, except for the bread fixing prices thing. That's like
that didn't work so well. But this is a prime example of what you're talking about here, Brandon, because for some reason Vivek Ramaswamy said yes to going on Mehdi Hasan's program, and that has not worked out well for a variety of people. I mean, who did he dismantle on that show recently?
There was Matt Taibbi recently.
That was horrible for Taibbi. Yes.
I'm trying to remember if there was another one recently. Taibbi was a big one I think in March of this past year.
Well, anyway, I mean, Mehdi's just basically the best in the business at this, and he starts out this interview. I watched it all, going right at Vivek and saying that like his candidacy, asking him what experience he has and that him running is the epitome of tech bro arrogance, which I think is pretty on point. But this is the part that I think is getting the most attention and speaks to what you're saying, Brandon, about his inability to lie effectively. Mehdi Hasan asked him repeatedly about comments that are like on paper in front of him about Donald Trump, where he criticizes Trump and calls his conduct on January 6th abhorrent. Vivek 3 times evades the question and won't answer.
Edit this, and this is the way this game is played. Politics is dirty. That's okay. I'm ready for it. It's not edited,
just to be clear. Is Donald Trump, as you say now, the best president of the 21st century?
Of the 21st century. Yes,
let me ask my question. Let me finish the question. Is Donald Trump, as you say now, the best president of the 21st century, who you say you want as an advisor and a mentor if you become president? Or is Trump, as you've said in the past in your books on Twitter, a, quote, sore loser who is a, quote, danger to democracy and who did, quote, downright abhorrent and egregious things on January the 6th. Which one is he, Vivek?
So to be crystal clear, between George Bush, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump, those are the presidents of the 21st century. Donald Trump is unambiguously, as judged by the results, the best president of the 21st century. Kept us out of wars, grew the economy. I give him full credit for that. I want to build on that foundation and take this country to the next level.
Kept us out of wars. This is such nonsense, and I just have to get annoyed at it in real time.
Didn't a service member die in Niger during Trump's watch? Am I misremembering?
Trump assassinated an Iranian general out of nowhere, Soleimani.
That wasn't an act of war, right?
Yeah, which literally we could have been in active war with Iran. It would be like Iran assassinating Mike Pompeo out of nowhere, and then being like, hell yeah, or Mark Milley or somebody like that when Trump was in office. And by Iran's own restraint, we are not in active war with Iran. Also, Trump had the opportunity to withdraw from Afghanistan and waited and signed an agreement to let Biden do it because he was too much of a coward to do it on his watch. But anti-war president because we like Russia is basically what he's saying.
Trump kept our wars in the shadows where they belong.
Yeah, right.
I also love that Vivek is it was almost like a robot short circuiting that he had to immediately pivot from saying the Atlantic spliced his comments about the 9/11 commission and then immediately transferred to absolutely Trump was the best president of my lifetime. He was like, it was spliced and edited, Mehdi. Absolutely Trump was the best president of my lifetime. He was like, talking point.
Yeah.
Have to get them both out at the same time.
Yeah.
He pivots to Saudi involvement in 9/11 an awful lot. Like it seems very like disconnected.
Do you think he's overcompensating like a little bit? I don't know.
He might as well not bother.
Yeah. All right, let's go back 10 seconds.
I give him full credit for that. I want to build on that foundation and take this country to the next level.
You've also called him a sore loser who is a danger to democracy. Those are strong words.
Would I have made the same judgments that he has made at every step of the way? No, I will remind you that I am running for U.S. president because I am best positioned to lead this country forward.
Can I ask you what they are, Vivek?
Yes.
You say he behaved in downright abhorrent behavior that makes him a danger to democracy. What was it that was downright? Tell me what he did that was downright abhorrent.
Let's actually be really fair to your audience. So on January 10th, 2021, thereabouts, days after that incident, I wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal arguing that censorship was the real cause of what happened on January 6th. When asked in response, somebody asked me the question, are you, that's what I wrote. I'm giving you the facts of what I said. That's a hard fact.
Yeah.
That was published in the Wall Street Journal. When pressed on, was that condoning what Trump did? My answer was no. There's a difference between a bad judgment and a crime.
And
we
you're
need
avoiding
to be able to tell the difference in this country.
What did Donald Trump do,
no, I'm not avoiding
in your view, that was downright abhorrent? Second time
I think that the thing that I would have done differently if I were in his shoes
not what I asked,
is I would have declared re-election on January 7th.
I'll ask it a third time.
That's exactly the thing I would have done.
What did Trump do that was egregious, quote, downright abhorrent, and a danger to democracy? Can you just explain to our viewers? Your words.
So you're mixing two different quotes. But what did I think was reprehensible about what happened that day? Look, I think that the way a true leader should have handled that situation should have been to actually say, this is me running for re-election, not actually litigating what is already passed and behind us. And I would have done things differently. That is not a crime, though.
I understand.
And the reason I have
what he just said is really funny too. What he would have done is, as the people are bashing in the windows of the Capitol and storming the walls, he would have stood in front of all that and said, this is me running for re-election.
Yeah, right.
This is what's next, everyone. This is the next step.
He just puts the truth cap on, and then all of the protesters dissipate. The power of my eternal truth.
This is so funny. This is like the demon offspring of like a debate bro online and like every vague tech launch of the past like 20 years.
Yeah.
Like he sounds like he's telling us when like the Cybertruck is coming out. And he's just like, yes, different types of cars will be seen in the future. Perhaps this one will be one of them. And you're like, what?
Yeah. No, and earlier in the interview too, like Mehdi Hasan just corners him on the fact that he made $37 million on what essentially was a pump and dump scheme where he sold this Alzheimer's drug that he was like saying, is the next great thing, and kept pushing it. Finally cashed out, made $37 million, and then it failed at trials, essentially, if I'm remembering correctly. So he lied about that, and then he went into some diatribe about how when he's president, he will make sure that Alzheimer's is cured or something like that. And he kept saying, I took a loss on that. No, it's documented. You made $37 million, but.
A symbolic loss because he didn't cure the disease.
A loss to his soul because he cares so deeply about Alzheimer's. You just got to keep letting him talk
so he can keep adding more context to every one of his things.
Good point. Yeah, right. It's got to be fair.
Actually say, this is me running for re-election, not actually litigating what is already passed and behind us. And I would have done things differently. That is not a crime, though, what he did.
I understand.
And the reason I have been so vehement.
You keep saying what you would have done. I just want to hear from your mouth. No, unless you're scared of him, why won't you say what he did that was downright abhorrent?
I'm not going to let you stitching together three things from three different places to create a caricature. Do you want to have an actual conversation?
Yes, I want you to answer my question, Vivek. Three times I've asked it. What did Trump do that was downright abhorrent? It's a simple question. It's your words. It's on screen. What did he do that was downright abhorrent?
I believe that failing to unite this country falls short of what a true leader ought to do. That is why I'm in this race, is to do things differently than any prior president has done them. That's the hard truth, okay?
And that's what
now,
made him a sore loser and a abhorrent. Yes, your word.
Well, the reality is none of that is a crime. And the reason I have been so vocal, is because when somebody actually prosecutes somebody for a bad judgment, and I've been clear,
I understand
he made
your
bad
objections
judgments.
to the litigation.
I would have made different judgments.
That's not what I asked about. I understand.
That is a distinction we have to draw.
Understood. You say you are anti-identity politics.
All right. Well, then he goes. I mean, he knows he's not getting an answer out of him there, but pretty amazing. Like, the thing is that honestly, Trump probably won't care about this. No. In the same way he doesn't care really about Tucker Carlson's like secret texts that were leaked as a part of the Dominion lawsuit, right? Where he was saying that Trump was a destructive force and that
I absolutely hate him. Basically.
I hate him basically. Can't wait for him to get out of office, and we don't have to deal with him anymore. That kind of stuff, because, you know, Trump says horrible things about people at the drop of a hat. He's like, you know, as soon as he's like, I don't know Asa Hutchinson very well, but he's a pathetic person. And he's totally weak.
And Trump is from like the pro wrestling school of communications, which is no one ever dies and no one ever you don't ever actually fully fall out with someone.
Exactly.
So you can get mad at Kayleigh McEnany on Fox and then still be like, you're doing great work.
Well, and then it's because it's all for show, and then it's also because and the reality TV element as well, and he also is like, "What have you done for me lately?" And if Vivek is pumping him up, but not dumping him at this point in the public, then he's going to be still in consideration for some sort of high-level cabinet position.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that, you know, he's fishing for it for sure. I just don't think Trump is going to remember this guy. I think he's going to flame out too. I think that, you know,
Ramaswamy, he's good.
Unlike Trump, he just seems to be very combative when confronted with, you know, the reality of the fact that he wasn't going to run for Republican president 2 years ago. That's why he tweeted this, because he probably had some guy at a pharma company or some Silicon Valley tech people following him on Twitter. That's what they were all saying. And he wanted to be one of those people then. And now he doesn't. And so he has to recraft this entire persona for himself based around like sucking up to Trump. But that's all his only persona. And if that's your only persona, he doesn't have the kind of gravitas Trump has to sort of like swipe away questions he doesn't want to answer. He's just like an hyper online debate kind of guy who feels the need to constantly give you more context and feedback about why you're misunderstanding him and how this is all out of context and how you're twisting words and things that like they don't make for good sound bites because they make you seem defensive. And that's what he comes across. It's very defensive. And even when he laughs, like he chuckles maniacally. He's just like, there you go, twisting my words again, Mehdi.
Yeah.
Like this is what the media does. Like it just doesn't land. It comes across as very fake, very forced. Like he gets angry.
Very Ivy League debate bro, as you said.
Yeah. Very like this, that's outside the bounds of what I consider to be fair arguing with me, because you have my evidence of the thing that I said right here, and I can't sort of, you know, just stop responding like I would on Twitter. It's opening yourself up to a different level of scrutiny. And that's why, you know, people who think that kind of debating translates to real life just end up being unsatisfied with their personal relationships.
Well, you know, it is sort of smart for him, though. Like, he knows that the Republican primary base is not watching Mehdi Hasan's show unless he gives them a clip that gets cut and passed around. So just by not answering the question at all, there's nothing to clip, nothing newsworthy out of this interview, and the base never sees any of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, he looked bad in the interview, obviously, skirting around the question, but he didn't answer it. So I don't think, you know, it's something that'd be red meat for that audience that would like, because that's who he's trying to obviously.
Yeah, but it's fun for us, isn't that?
I just think it's the wrong audience.
Yeah.
I just think he's going after.
I don't know why he did Mehdi Hasan's show to begin with, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a little overconfidence from him.
The Trump audience, I think, is the wrong audience for this kind of like Republican Party play. If you want to be the Republican Party, like hate to say it, minority. You go for like the big money donors who are like, okay, yes, let's try to actually put a new modern face on what this Republican Party could be, and like bring in, they always say, like, bring in some more Latino votes, bring in some more Black people. You go for more a Republican Party establishment. The average MAGA voter is not going to be swayed by this idea of, voting for someone whose last name is Ramaswamy. He's basically just going for like the online person vote, but like purely the online.
He's not running to win though. So like, I mean, this is all gravy. It's just about getting more attention.
But you know what? If he was running against someone like a Mitt Romney, then I would agree with you. But Trump has somehow done exactly what you said without courting those. I mean, specifically courting those big money donors. He's run any previous sort of Republican when it comes to the Latino vote and the Black vote. I mean, we are talking very small numbers to begin with. So let's.
Did you see his mugshot? That's why.
Yeah,
he's like Tupac.
no one has seen what those numbers are going to be now that mugshot's out. So,
but Trump is a unique beast. He was like in every rap song. He was in Home Alone 2. He's a celebrity.
Right.
People remember him.
Yes.
Ramaswamy is a farmer bro from Silicon Valley, where all the hippies, and no offense, but like people that Republicans don't like live. And
no, there's no comparison. I mean, it's like, and there's also a difference, I think, Binder, than like, if the appeal of a certain candidate is broadening among different groups versus the majority of the Republican white base voting for a guy who has brown skin to be the president. Like Sam often talks about how mostly it's about can people envision this person as president? And for racist Republican voters, they can't envision that guy as president. So he's auditioning for something separate. Like he tried to be a Daily Wire host, is the rumor, before he ran. Like this guy has a whole different set of incentives, is my point.
Yeah, he's like Republican trying to be Obama. Like he's like if a Republican like if someone with the Republican Party like sensibilities tried to do an Obama play, but like that's just dead on arrival in the Republican Party. And so like best you can hope for is maybe like HUD. Is there money in HUD? There's definitely money for scamming in HUD, but like I don't know if that's like what the pharma bro play is. Like,
well, that's where Trump's like I would say longest tenured sort of like tokenizing appointment pick went for the longest time, which was Ben Carson being HUD secretary.
Yeah. Right.
One of the longest holdouts that never ran afoul of Trump. But to your point there, Brandon, also
some say Ben Carson is sleeping in that office.
Yeah, so he might still be there.
To this day. Long nap.
But I don't know if you guys will recall from the debate when Chris Christie pointed this out, which then prompted Vivek to call upon the memory of Christie and Obama embracing during Hurricane Sandy. But Christie pointed out that Vivek literally paraphrased what is this guy doing up here with a funny name, with a brown guy with a funny name? Like, how did he get on this debate stage? Like, Vivek literally cribbed that line from Obama.
Obama was a great speaker. But you have to have the right audience to be that fast speech to kind of land.
That's so funny because that's the second time like a Republican-ish person has plagiarized the Obamas. Remember what Melania Trump did?
She cribbed the Michelle speech, right?
Michelle
they almost
Obama
like chapter and verse.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think
she even dropped the line like, "I, Michelle Obama."
Yeah.
Michelle Obama. Yeah.
Yeah. No, like
Melania.
Vivek's hoping that Trump, he's like, is there a department of freestyle rap that I can head? Vivek rhymes with fake.
I could almost hear Trump saying something like our new ambassador to India with his weird.
We call it India. We call it India.
That's what he's thinking. We'll throw Vivek over there because that's how Trump operates.
Puerto Rico and India.
Ramaswamy, he's good. He's good.
I mean, honestly, Vivek would probably get along with Modi because they're both like bloodless fascists, but that's a whole nother